find this page in your notes with the errors and power, that stuff on here, okay? I'm actually going to erase what's above it just to give myself a little more room. All right, guys, so we have two types of errors. There's kind of a lot that goes with them. We're going to practice these specifically today so you get kind of the understanding of, okay, what is a type 1 error? What is a type 2 error? So let me jot down a few things for you, and then we'll talk about it in a little more depth, okay? So first, the type 1 error, the probability of a type 1 error is alpha. So, you know, we've talked about the alpha level with our hypothesis tests. That is the probability of making a type 1 error. And sort of the real world way to think about it is that the innocent, someone who's innocent goes to jail. Then with a type 2 error, the probability of that is beta. We haven't really talked about beta yet, but that's what the probability of a type 2 error is. It is beta. And in our real world court system, that means someone who is guilty goes free. Yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah, I'm gonna make you a whole little chart and everything, okay? I know, I don't love, like, I get it, the innocent goes to jail and the guilty goes free, like where that is, but I feel like it's easy to mix up which of those is dealing with the null and the alternative. But it works for some people, so I'll write it, but I will also make a chart that I think helps with who is what and what's actually happening, okay? I'm going to put the chart, I'm just putting it on a new slide. You guys should be able to fit it over here. I just know that it won't look very nice if I do it there. So we're going to make a little chart here. So across the top here, this is the truth, like what's actually true. So in the first column, we're saying the null is true. And in the second column, we're saying the null is false. Like, that's the reality. Like, what's actually happening, the null is true or the null is false. And then on the left side over here, this is your decision from the data. What I mean by decision, that's the rejecting or fail to reject, you know, comparing the p-value to the alpha, what we were doing in our test there. So first is reject the null. Second option, your decision could be fail to reject null. Okay, so let's fill in each of these boxes here with this. So first row and column there, your null is true, but you reject the null. That's bad, okay? The null is actually true and you're throwing it out the window. That's a mistake, okay? That is a type 1 error. Okay, then sticking in that first row. This time our null is false and we reject the null. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Okay, so that's great. We'll just put a little smiley face in there, okay? That's what we want. Still your unit, right? Yeah. All right, now let's go down to the second row here. So back to the null being true, and we fail to reject the null. That's good, right? It's true and we didn't reject it. Excellent, we want that. And then the last one there, your null is false, but you failed to reject it. So the null is not accurate, but you're going, oh, I didn't have enough evidence to say that I could reject it. That is a type 2 error. Chart, thinking about innocent to jail, guilty free, whatever, as long as something makes sense, if you understand it in one of those ways, that is great, okay? And again, we're going to practice this on a quizzes with picking out what the type 1 and type 2 error would be in different situations. Anybody questions on the chart? Does that make sense? Okay. So let's talk about a few more things. Maybe for this slide here. Okay, there we go. All right, so a couple of things we can do here. With a type 1 error, if we want to lower the probability of making these errors, so lower probability. I know, I really needed to give you more room on this page, and I'm sorry. If you write big at all, there's no chance it's all fitting on there. So for type 1, the way you can lower the probability of a type 1 error, there's a couple things you can do. You can pick a smaller alpha. That makes sense. If alpha is the probability, picking a smaller alpha lowers that probability, okay? The other thing you can do is increase n. So increasing your sample size would reduce that probability as well. Now, on the other side, if you want to lower the probability of a type 2 error, you pick a larger alpha, so you go the other way. But also increasing sample size will lower a type 2 probability, okay? And again, I think when we start doing some practice problems with this, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see like what I'm going to be asked and how this works. All right, we talked about this just very briefly, the relationship with the confidence intervals. So let's say I have a 95% confidence interval. That's the same as an alpha of 0.05. Think about making a little picture. That's the middle 95%, right? Like that's what you're finding for the confidence interval. The tails are the alpha that we're talking about. You can use your confidence interval to help you make a conclusion in a hypothesis test. So if the hypothesized value is in the confidence interval, what I mean by in it, like in the shaded part, that's when you fail to reject. If it is not in the shaded part, not in the confidence interval, we reject. Okay, so there's definitely a connection between where it falls in your confidence interval and what your hypothesis test is telling you. And then power. So 1 minus beta is the power of a test. So 1 minus the probability of a type 2 error, that's what is the power of your test. The things you really need to know about it is how to increase the power of your test. So increase power. You can do that by increasing alpha. So increase alpha. Increase your sample size. I don't know what that music is. Everyone hears that, right? Okay. Or you could decrease your sigma. So basically make it less spread out. That's going to increase the power. I don't know.
I thought it was just in my head. I really don't know.
I know you kind of worry. You're like, I don't really want to hear it. No. It sounds like it's coming like.
Yeah, that corner.
Yeah. I'll ask Miss Moore what she's doing. All right, a couple other ways power might be worded. Probability of correctly rejecting the null. So correctly rejecting, that means reject null when null is false. Again, this really, does it feel like kind of just like a vague topic right now? You're like, okay, I know those words, but what, yeah, that's okay. That's kind of where you should be right now. We'll do some practice with it.
trying to follow my notes.
Oh dear. I know, I really need to give you more room on some of these pages too, I'm sorry.
I don't have small handwriting.
Maybe you should like start color coding it, you know?
It makes sense to me though. So.
Hey, that's all that matters. You're the only one who has to look at it. So. Okay, so that's officially the end of your notes, guys.